Pittsburgh Steelers were on the clock during our commercial break with the 21st overall pick. That pick is in, and spoiler alert, it is not a quarterback. At number 21 overall, the Steelers have selected the defensive tackle, Derrick Harmon, out of Oregon. So let's start with that very idea. Not a QB, not Shedeur Sanders, not Jackson Dart. Lisi, it's the interior D lineman, Derrick Harmon, out of Oregon. What do you make of the Steelers' decision here with the 21st overall selection?
I think it's terrible. And I told you this again. I think Mike Tomlin and the organization put themselves in this position a couple of years ago when they got Justin Fields and Russell Wilson and couldn't work out the quarterback situation. They say they're happy with Mason Rudolph. Oh, that's all well and good to say it because he got you to a playoff game a couple of years ago. But you're supposed to be competing not just with Cincinnati and Baltimore in the division. You're supposed to be elevating and progressing year after year after year to challenge for an AFC championship, and Derrick Harmon doesn't bring you any closer to that. I understand maybe Cam Hayward is at the end of his career, regressing slightly, and he helped solidify that defensive front, but this does nothing to make them challenge for an AFC championship. It doesn't make them a better football team. And waiting for Aaron Rodgers and trying to say we'll glue it together with smoke and mirrors is just, it's just terrible. It's horrible. I'm sorry. Just terrible decision overall.
Look, I'm going to let it get over to those guys. I'll just add this. Pittsburgh doesn't even have a round 2 pick. So this team is now Rodgers or bust. Awesome. 10 days ago, he's like, I'm probably going to retire. Awesome. Okay.
And so, Kev, to your point earlier, Shedeur Sanders was not necessarily on a slide until we got around this spot because his draft position prop was 21 and a hook. The team that was favored to select Sanders at a minus 150 number entering the draft was the Pittsburgh Steelers. So blue and cap, what does that mean for Sanders? Where might he go, if at all, in this opening round?
All right, I'll get to my thoughts on my Steelers pick in a minute, but let's take a look at the board now. Shedeur Sanders is past 21. We thought the Steelers could be that landing spot. I personally never thought they were going to be in on it. You and I talked about this. I did not think the Steelers were going to go with Shedeur right here. I think Kevin's right to criticize that they're just kind of waiting on the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes, but I would say that another veteran option for them. They still have a lot of cap space. While I don't know that Kirk Cousins is somebody they want to be in business with, I'm frankly surprised during the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. I think there's a possibility that the Steelers could use Cousins as a fallback option. But let's get back to Shedeur.
You are correct, though, Mike. Yes, they have interest in him. Keep going.
Yeah, let's get back to the Shedeur, Jackson Dart potential sweepstakes. Now we start to look at those teams that are at the beginning of round 2, the Browns and the Giants. The Browns with those 2 picks at 33 and 36. Are they the team that can move back up? And then we're saying at the end of the night, wow, the Browns ended up with a quarterback and a defensive lineman that they like.
Mike, before the draft, what did we say in our pre-show? That basically Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart are late first-round, early second-round picks. Now we know that Cleveland has 2 second-rounders. They could do kind of what they want. They could trade up to make sure they secure one of those 2 quarterbacks, or they could wait. But you have to compete with the Giants, who are a team that obviously is looking for a young guy at that position eventually. But the bottom line is the Steelers don't have that guy right now. I just find it comical. What would happen if Rodgers retires? Mason Rudolph, they could say whatever they want, as I've talked to someone there privately. He did a great job 2 years ago for 4 games. We're talking about 17 games plus playoffs. That's not going to work. So that's why they have interest in Kirk Cousins. But the money, $35 million, still fully guaranteed. It's a non-starter for clubs, by the way. And that's
the Steelers would have to end up paying much more of the Kirk Cousins' salary than they would want to in order to have somebody that's an upgrade from Rudolph. But they put themselves in this position. I don't really mind the Derrick Harmon pick from a team perspective. And, yes, they don't have a second-round pick, but they do have DK Metcalf now. But if Mason Rudolph is the one throwing DK Metcalf the ball, it doesn't really matter much.